Hello, everybody. I am super duper excited for today. This is actually going to be our first event back since the summit. So I'm super eager to see you guys all join us. I know I can't physically see you guys, but I'm just super happy to see you. I know I'm so pumped too. Look at the chat just running through with so much excitement. I am so excited. Please add in the chat also too where you're joining us from. I know right now we are in the beginning of the summertime. So I would love to hear where you guys are enjoying your summer break. Awesome. We see people coming in and from San Diego, New York, Wisconsin. Okay. My Midwesterners, I'm also here in the Midwest. I'm actually in Chicago. So as you know, for all of you guys here in the Midwest, particularly here in the city in Chicago, today's a beautiful day in the city. I always like to complain about the weather here because as a Chicagoan, I've been born and raised here in the South Side, but I always complain about just our humidity and our cold, brutal winters. I'm that person, unfortunately. But I just love a good summer weather. Chicago, it's just a beautiful place to be. But yeah, I'm going to give a few minutes for us to just continue in to chime in. I know right now we're at 2 minutes in, but I want to let people join us and add in the chat where you're joining us from. Because we have an amazing panel to discuss. I would really love to dive into it. Awesome. Great. So with that being said, welcome to our event today. I am super excited to welcome all of you guys to our first event back here as headquarters of Latinas in Tech. My name is Juana Estrada, and I'm actually the event manager here at Latinas in Tech. I'm super glad to be here with you guys. I've missed being here with you guys. It's been a while now since I've been able to interact with you guys, but for you, all of you guys who are also new to our network, welcome. Today we have an amazing panel discussion brought to you by our partners here with Google. So I'm really excited to hear from our ladies soon, but also too for you guys to ask questions in regarding to their career paths and more. As mentioned, shout out to Google and to all the amazing ladies here that we have partnering with us. And so just feel free to throughout the event today. I know we have some time allocated for breakout sessions to ask questions directly to each of our speakers and some recruiters at Google. But if you want to ask questions throughout the conversation, I recommend you all to use the stage tab. You'll find that right on the right-hand column. Use that there, and I encourage you guys to use also the chat function to communicate with us as well. So to all of you ladies here who are new to our network and just want to know what is Latinas in Tech? Well, Latinas in Tech is a network of ladies and women who are here to provide you guys with support as we encourage you guys to motivate you guys to grow within your careers within tech. And the way that we do that is by offering you guys opportunities with professional development, recruiting, and representation like this today. To become a member of Latinas in Tech, you are going to be offered an opportunity to connect with our 1,700 plus women here. That is a lot of women that we have in our network, and it's constantly growing with over 20 chapters across the country, with 23 nationalities and over 400 companies that we have partnerships with. So if you are new to our network, and if you're breaking into tech, already in tech, and looking to just grow and connect with women like you who are looking for opportunities, this is the right place to be. And so just before we begin, some quick housekeeping rules. I highly suggest you guys to please add your questions into the chat. And we're going to be utilizing the stage tab for questions regarding anything regarding today's conversation. If you have any questions, utilize the Q&A tab or just the chat function to communicate as well. But with that being said, I am super excited to welcome our panel onto the screen. So let me quickly add our ladies. Hello. Oh, my heart is so full right now. I'm so happy to see you all here. I know we're missing one more person though, so we'll wait a couple seconds. But I am so excited. Honestly, this is a dream come true. I know I've done a million of these events, but I feel like because it's our first event back, I'm just super excited to have you guys on board. Hi. Awesome. Great. So before we begin, I would really love to just open up the floor for just some quick introductions before we get started into our conversation. So if anybody would like to take the lead on that, or I can pick out names, however that feels comfortable for you all.
I'm more than happy to go first.
Awesome.
Hello, I am Jessica Dene Early Cha. Let's see, I am a developer relations engineer. I'm based in the Bay Area and I focus on Google Assistant and Android. Anything else I should tell folks? We're good on it. Okay, great.
Very good. Anyone else want to go next?
I can go. Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Carmen Suarez, and I am a senior program manager with our Google Global Networking Organization. I focus on bringing infrastructure to support our network traffic globally. So, and I am based out of Reston, Virginia.
Thank you so much. Mariana, do you mind going next?
Not at all. Hi, everyone. I'm Mariana Quinde Garcia. I'm a software engineer. I work for Google Cloud AI, specifically the Cloud Speech to Text team. And I grew up in Mexico City, but I moved here for college, and now I am based in New York City.
Awesome. And last but not least,
hi, everyone. I am Camille Vogel. I am a product support manager on the Pixel team. I am based in Boulder, Colorado. I use the pronouns she and her. And part of my role involves controlling the strategy on how we support users, specifically for Pixel on our online channels, and how to take the voice of customer and feed that back into the product so we could constantly evolve and improve and make changes and fixes.
Thank you so much, ladies. I know I also forgot to add my pronouns, but again, my name is Juan Estrada, and I'm the event manager here at Latinas in Tech, and I'll be supporting today with moderation of today's panel, but I use the pronouns she and her. But thank you so much to all the ladies here for joining us today. As mentioned, I think you guys are going to provide so much insight to our women here in the network, and I'm really excited to just dive into conversation. But first and foremost, I feel like all of us here, including myself, want to learn more about what the life is like for a Googler. Is that a term, right? Or no? Yeah. So yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. I'll start with you, Jessica. Like, what is it your day in life here, or how would you describe your life at Google?
Yeah, I would say because Google is so large, you're going to get a lot of different variety. So I love the fact that we have multiple people. So I could speak on my own experience. Kind of my day-to-day varies because in developer relations, it is a team that we sit between the product, so whatever platform we're working on, and for me specifically, it's Google Assistant Android. I sit between the product itself and then the community. And so a lot of what I do is I help support building out the platform and tooling, client libraries, teaching that to the community, and then gathering feedback from the community of what's great, what's not so great, and bringing it back to the engineering team. So that manifests in different ways. So some days I'm coding, I'm building projects. Some days I'm in the studio recording videos. Some days I am out doing talks and events. Other days I am working with our dev marketing team, trying to figure out how do we connect with those. Other times I'm like, you know what, all I want to do is code. So I'm working with the engineering team and doing that. So I have a lot of flexibility and variety, which I really love. And it gives me the option to choose and kind of opt in. And something that we have within DevRel is there's kind of internal DevRel and the external DevRel. And so there might be weeks or months where I'm like, you know what, I don't want to go travel. I don't want to do that. So you know what? I'm going to pick these projects that are internal focused. I'm going to stay home. Cool. And then like in October, I need to go out to Spain. Fantastic. I'm going to make a whole vacation out of it too. So I have a lot of opportunities to travel, especially before COVID. That was a lot of fun. So I truly can say every week is different. Every day is different. But a lot of it is driven by what I choose to do because there's so much work that can happen. So it's a lot of me figuring out what would have the best or the most impact, and what am I interested in learning too? So I'm not an Android developer, but I just joined. I reorged into there, so I'm learning. So it's been really fun to be able to be in a space where you don't have to be an expert, and asking those silly questions is really valuable.
I love that a lot. And honestly, I'm super jealous that you have opportunities to travel. I think that's an amazing part of just working at a big organization is you have those chances to go wherever you would like. But I think it's really nice that you talk about how you have that open flexibility to create your own schedule, which I feel like it's a lot of people love that, right? That ability to flex around with your schedule.
Exactly.
Maricarmen, I really want to hear from you too, as far as your experience of what it's like to to work at Google?
Yeah, it's Jessica has a super exciting job. My days are very similar to her, right? We don't have traditional 9 to 5 jobs. I don't do the same thing every day. And that's one of the things I love. I love the variety, right? I'm part of a global team and we support the network. The network, it's always on. So your job, it's always there, right? So for me, I have been always very intentional about integrating my home life and my work life because I do have a family, right? So normally when I wake up very, very early on the Eastern time zone. So my first meetings are usually with my APAC colleagues or my EMEA colleagues, and I get them settled and I get their day started. And then I stop everything that I'm doing and I get my kids ready for school and I start kind of transitioning into getting ready to go to the office. So I'll go to the office and I deal a lot with the East Coast teams. The Pacific teams are starting to come on board. And fun fact about me, I try to leave the office around 3 o'clock my time in Virginia because that's when my colleagues in Sunnyvale go to lunch. So by the time they come back to lunch, I'm already in my house and ready to take the last couple of days. And, I avoid all of the traffic from the commute. So the days are very, very different for me. But to be honest, just like Jessica, I also have the flexibility to travel the world, right? So I tell everybody I love my job as a program manager. I really do. But my happiest day at Google, it's literally when I'm wearing my fluorescent vest, my hard hat, my steel toe boots, and I'm in a construction site. And if I can have mud all the way to my knees, I am loving life out there. So Google comes in many varieties and many flavors. My flavor is I love to be the Googler that it's out field, just digging for trenches and setting up the fiber so that other peoples around the world can connect.
I love your energy and I applaud you for liking to be in the nitty gritty because I know if I were in your position, I would not like that at all. But I do think that that's amazing that I feel like there's some balance here, right? You have the ability to create your schedule as well, but also to accommodate with your life at home, which I think is also something that's really key right now with a lot of people, working remotely, right? Is like creating that balance from that work-life balance with your work and your at-home situation. So definitely love that. Thank you so much for both of you guys for sharing. I wanted to ask now a different question regarding more so just like what is the most amazing time or happy memory you've had so far working at Google? And I want to actually ask a question to Mariana. As far as your experiences, what would you say has been the most fulfilling part about working at Google?
For me, it's definitely the people. I think that people can make or break a job, and I've had overwhelmingly positive experiences with people at Google. I joined as a new grad, and that can be very intimidating to join a field where there's people that are more experienced or more represented, and I was intimidated. But I quickly realized that the people that were working with me had the best intentions in mind. They were willing to help me learn and discover what I wanted to do with my career while still working for a product. And I've worked with several teams at Google in several orgs, and I am always positively surprised at how kind and positive the people that I've worked with are. And it's just a warm reception. And I think that we see it even here in this panel. Everyone's energy is so contagious and so excited to be here. And I think that's what I've encountered in my day-to-day at Google as well.
I really love that. And I think that's a really key point to highlight, right? I know for me, working at Latinx in Tech, for me, team was super, super duper important. I mean, I worked in companies, particularly in tech, that didn't have that much representation. And I feel like for me as a Latina, I wanted to be around people who spoke my language, who looked like me, who had a variety of backgrounds too, that to expand my mind and also just to make me aware of different cultures. So I completely agree 100%. I think your team is very valuable in how you approach that. Moving on to the next question, and I want to actually ask this to Camille. This is more in relation to kind of like your career path. And previously, before we're coming to Google, what was your work like, and how would you compare to how now you approach, problem solving in your everyday life work?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So first, I think I'd like to compare like how my prior jobs prepared me for this specific role and the work that I do. So, and I'm talking about even jobs that I didn't think were related. So when I was in undergrad, I worked in retail communications selling the very first Google Nexus phone. So I understood what our customers' mindset was like, how they bought, how they dealt with issues. Then when I worked in marketing, I understood the importance of branding, tone and voice, and communications. In my prior digital customer experience role, I had to analyze how users interacted with their sites, agents, self-service tools, and then how to improve those processes to make it more efficient and worthwhile to our users. So now as a product support manager, I lead how we support our users through our online channels. And like I said, take that voice of customer insights back to the organization so we can help fix and evolve our products. And now when I think about the improvements that I make, I don't think about it just for a specific problem or a specific part of the company. I think about how they can be implemented across the world and across different teams and products within Google.
Thank you so much for that insight. And actually, I'm curious to hear from the rest of you ladies too, if anybody doesn't mind chiming in with this question, because I feel like you all have different kind of perspectives. And also too, I would love to learn more about what was your role before coming to Google.
Yeah, I could totally. So Google is my first technical job. So this is my first time working. I am not young. So my first 10 years of my career, I actually worked in the nonprofit space. So I worked in San Diego, working primarily with at-risk Latinas, and then in the Central Valley, working again with at-risk Latinas as well. So, and then people with mental health challenges. So I came from a nonprofit background. My undergraduate was sociology and applied psychology and education. So people is what I did. Didn't expect myself to be in tech, much less at Google. So I did a software boot camp and learned how to develop. And I used a lot of my teaching and nonprofit work skills within that space and was really involved in community management. So I got really involved in organizing community events for when it comes to technology, especially for people who are underrepresented in the community. And that was kind of my niche. And because I was dabbling in and doing a handful of tech talks, which my first technical talk was Tequeria, which is a other organization that focuses on Latinx folks. And they were, one of my friends, David, was just like, hey, why don't you do it? Because I was offering up the space. I was like, come do the events here. And he offered me to do a little talk. And so that's kind of where I dipped my toes. And then I started giving lots more talks. And that's how Google found me, was because I was giving lots of other talks. And Google was like, hey, you might be really great at being a developer relations engineer, working with people and making that connection. So I would say all the other skills led me to this point and really highlighted it. And so now I would say within Google, I still build and code, but everything else I've done, people management, being able to communicate effectively, be able to see people from a different point of view, be able to see a project from the start to the end. All of that is really important. And I do a lot of work with folks who are coming from that non-traditional background of software bootcamp or self-taught. And that's where I usually tell folks, that's something that you might not have from someone who just graduated necessarily. So there are skill sets that everyone has that's all different, and we need the different variety to make a great team. So I would like to say, like, whatever your thing is, lean into it, learn how to express that, because that might be the exact thing that team needs at that moment, and you can make that connection.
I love that. And I think anybody in the chat right now, that is a nugget of knowledge right there, right? Use your uniqueness as a way to get hired onto your dream jobs. Absolutely, 100%. And I think you both touched on something also really important, which is like coming into tech, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have a tech background. A lot of people who come into this background are non-traditional tech people who just have a curiosity and just want to grow right within their careers. And I always say that like tech is a space that embraces uniqueness and also a great space for minorities to grow, because it's so new and there's so much for us to learn. And I mean, from both of you guys, we can hear that, right? You guys came from somewhere that was not really technical, but then ended up here, right? So awesome, awesome stories. Anybody else want to share their perspective on this too? I would love to hear from either Mariana or Mari Carmen.
So I agree with Jessica completely, right? But it's not only curiosity. I think you also have to be fearless, right? You can do anything that you set your mind to. I promise you. My background is definitely not in technology. So if you would have told me 20 years ago that I would have been in the engineering team at Google, I would have laughed, right? Because I started in the nonprofit side of the house. I started just being an assistant to a CEO of the Assisted Living Federation of America. So a very, very different life. And my degree is actually in interdisciplinary studies. And you might be wondering, what is that? It is a degree that you get when you have a lot of college credits, but you really never figure out what you want it to be, right? So you're just like, just give me a degree. It's been 7 years. I need to get out of school, right? So I definitely took the long path. And along the way, I fell in love with project management. And that turned out to be my career. And by chance, I volunteered to do a random project in one of the big tech companies that I worked at many, many years ago of building a data center. That was really my first exposure to construction, to data centers. And I found my calling. Like that was my thing. But it was super hard because I remember the days where I was literally the only woman walking in a construction site. I was literally the only woman, and this is probably TMI, but I will tell you, I refused at the time to use the porta potties because there were like 500 males in there, and I was the only one. So I will come to work and I tell them, I got 5 hours before I need to run to the nearest restroom at a McDonald's or at a restaurant somewhere else. So I had to kind of make my life work if I wanted to be in that construction site. When I started having my kids, my maternity room, they did give me a mother's room, but it was an electrical closet. So I look at how far we have come, and I go to a construction site and I see so many women there now, and they are rocking their role. So it is really has been an incredible journey. And I am really hoping that by the time my daughters enter the workforce, they have those career paths available to her. So it's incumbent upon all of us not only to charter the path for ourselves, but to charter the path for the next generation. That's why I love being at Google, because it gives me such a big platform to help others.
Mari Carmen, you just dropped all the knowledge, girl. Thank you so much for that. And like I said, power to you for your role, honestly. But I think you're very. I appreciate your authenticity and transparency, because what you speak about is so true for a lot of women in workplaces where you're the few women, right? Just in general, like using the restroom, like men do not understand the cleanliness and the ability for us to have to be like, you know what, I'm gonna sit this one out and hold it for the next 3 hours, right? Or just simply just like not having a place to breastfeed. That's something that I know for me within the last couple of years I've been more appreciative. I don't have children, but I always am very happy to see places that offer that for women, because I know that is also a really huge need. So I thank you so much for sharing that. So much encouragement. Mariana, I'd like to offer the floor for you too if you want to mention any comments.
Yeah, definitely. I think that for me, since I started at Google after graduation, it's a little bit different. But I will say that the amount of opportunities that I saw when applying at Google and the diversity of each opportunity was very surprising to me. I did like a few other tech jobs before graduating. There were long internships. And I think that when I saw the opportunities that were available at Google, I was just very surprised and excited about finding the one that was right for me. And even within Google, I think that it's very easy to, or it's facilitated to move around and find the right career path for you. We have people going from coding to program management and vice versa. We have UX going to research and vice versa again. So I think that the environment of growth is not like in one career path specifically. It really allows you to grow into what is good for you.
I love that. And it's actually a really great segue to our next question too, because it's in relation to career development. And I think that what you're talking about is super important as far as having an organization that supports the development of your career, right? And fostering that. And I would love to open the floor again to you ladies to talk more about kind of what has been your approach in your career at Google, and how do you feel Google has supported you in developing that career path that you currently have? Can popcorn somebody, or if anybody wants to chime in?
Yeah, I could start. So overall, my mentality when it comes to career development started before I even got to Google. And it's that I have to own it 100%. I cannot rely on other people to boost me. I have to be aware and essentially manage up. So although your managers can help with career development, I think that's, not just for me, but outside of Google, ultimately the onus is on me on how to identify how I want to grow, the resources available for me to do so, and then voicing my desire, which I think is really, really key, especially with our community, is being able to express that you want to grow.
Can I ask you to talk a little bit more about that? Because I feel like that's super important right there. And I'd love to hear kind of like how you do that, because it is true, right? Like in our community, like, I mean, I'll full transparent, like I struggle so much with that, like, and I'm still working on that. But I think, I would love to hear from you, like, how do you voice what your desires are in your career path?
Yeah, sure. So for also context, I am a first generation American, especially on my dad's side. He immigrated from Nicaragua. My mom is a Black and Puerto Rican woman. So growing up, both cultures in the household were very much like, don't brag about what you do. Just get your job done, keep your head down and hustle. And somebody's eventually going to pluck you out. Well, guess what? I wasn't getting plucked out until I was a squeaky wheel. And the way that honestly, I just worked up to it. It starts from the smallest ask, right? Or just working up the courage to schedule a 15-minute coffee chat and really getting it out like, hey, I want to do XYZ. How do I get there? And I think the fear is rejection of people telling us, no, I won't help you. And if you get over the fact that like, yeah, you're going to get told no sometimes, but the large majority of it, if you have the correct approach, you're going to be told yes. And people really care about your well-being and your growth. They're going to say yes, and they're going to prioritize it once they know that's what you want. But then, kind of just going back into, the resources that Google has to offer, what I found, we have tons of internal resources. There are like so many emails I see day in and day out about, hey, there's this coaching available. Here's this training. Here's the tips on your career growth, which is something that happened, since I started. So this year, I'm actually part of a coaching app pilot, and I've already seen a drastic improvement in my work, feeling more confident in getting to the next level of my career growth. And like I said, I used to feel like my work had to speak for itself. And with Google, because it is, or at least from my perception, this is a large place. There are so many teams, so many different roles. There's so much going on at any given time. You have to remind people about the work that you do. And this is really where like I lean into my personal branding skills. And then I tell the story about my work, its impact, and then why people should continue investing in and therefore me. So it's about being squeaky, showcasing your work and the results that you do, and why you should continue getting investment from other people and why they should amplify what you do.
Thank you for that energy. Honestly, ladies on the chat, also allies in the chat, I hope you're taking notes because we have some bombs being dropped today for sure. I really honestly appreciate your authenticity with your story. And I think too, that can be another whole topic about like just personal branding, right? I think as Latinas, we have an amazing journey and story to tell, but we got to learn how to like frame that, right? So 100% agree with you on that one. Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in on this topic? Jessica?
Yeah, I always have opinions about things like this. When it comes to, I think the question is, when it comes to education opportunities at Google, right? So I learned web development, and in January got reorged into Android, which is totally different. It is bonkers for in my opinion. And so I'm doing a lot of learning, and I've been able, just like Camila was saying, be able to advocate and be honest with like, I don't have the level of expertise within this world. And so I need to have a plan to learn. And it wasn't something that my manager could just be like, okay, here's the plan. I had to go and find different courses, and I laid out okay, in order to be an expert within Android, I need to, do these courses, build these things. And this is what I'm thinking. And being able to work with my manager and being transparent. I don't think I could have done this 5 years ago. I think this is something that over time I've learned. I've gotten more comfortable learning to ask what I need. And it takes that time. And I loved that it was framed as something little. you know, you don't have to go for that big ask right away. I think sometimes we, as people, not just as women or Latinas, but I think as people want to go from 0 to 100 because we see people on these like panels like this. We're like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, you know, she took it up first off, and you know, everyone like it's really inspiring. But at the same time, I have to also be mindful that we need to break those into smaller steps, these little steps that we build and do, so then we can keep going. And there's going to be times where you're going to mess up and you're not going to advocate for yourself in the context or the way you want to, or in the time that you would have wanted to, or even for the thing. You might be like, I want to do this. And then you start doing it. You're like, oh no, that wasn't what I want. That is A-okay. I think thinking of your career as a windy road is a lot nicer to think about, because a windy road is really about looking around and seeing opportunities and enjoying the moment versus it being, I do this job to get this job to get this job so I can make the money, right? Or get the prestige, whatever it is. But think of your career as there's opportunities and you just don't know where around the corner there might be a fork in the road that will take you somewhere different. But these are all opportunities and you're never going backwards. Even if you are in the same role in a different place, you have so much more knowledge already. So you're never starting from square zero ever. Really, you're always building and growing. And so I definitely would say, think of those little things. And it might just be as simple as, okay, let me look back on my career or my education or my schooling. What were the things I was excited about? And I know for me, it was like, I like people, I like teaching, I like commute, like I like that part and making it easier for folks. I really love unlocking those barriers. And I would have never thought that would apply into tech. But being able to be open and be like, yeah, let's try this out, let's see. And you just never know. And offering some of your time to kind of explore without expecting, you know, I'll become X, gives potentially more opportunity for you. And honestly, too, it gives, at least for me, the ability to breathe and not put so much expectation. Because there's times where I might volunteer for something. And yeah, I think that opportunity would be great. But you know what? I don't have the bandwidth right now. And that's okay to say, you know what? Thank you, but no thank you. Because it's all about figuring out and taking care of yourself, because no one's going to do that. You are your priority. Figure out what you want. And that takes time. And what you want might change too. So what you want in 5 years might be different. And tech, I think, gives us that flexibility. And honestly, the financial resources is really nice too. Like, I think that's something that I'm trying to lean in more and being frank about, because I don't think we mention how much that unlocks for us, and like how I don't have to worry about paying rent, or, you know, if my mom needs a loan, I could give her some money. I could help my family. We're not tight. We're not like, oh, how are we going to bail someone out and doing that, but at the same time being mindful that you don't want to be taken advantage of. But just that mental relief to not worry is I think a really amazing opportunity that I think our community doesn't know about as much.
Can I chime in here? Because
Of course.
I, from being a child that was housing insecure to being a homeowner, like because of the resources that were provided for me through this opportunity. And it's like, now that I'm settled, I can lean back in and, you know, pour into my communities and keep lifting as I climb. But first you need to be secure, right?
Camille, you're so right. And, you know, in all honesty, I have always been an open book. I remember 21 years ago being on food stamps, going to the supermarket and trying to pay with the colored paper at the time and trying to decide what am I going to buy because I only have $20 worth of food stamps, right? And you fast forward to the incredible career that I've had, and I don't have to worry about that. Half of the time, I don't even look at the price, unfortunately, of, you know, how much is chicken costing today, because I'm just providing for my family and for my community. I'm now in a position that I can help others. And that's a blessing, right? But Jessica said this beautifully. It's about all of those little steps along the way. Career path is never linear, right? Mine has definitely been a topsy-turvy road with a heavy, heavy, healthy dose of drama to surround it as well, right? But you got to get out of your comfort zone, right? Google provides you all of the tools, and you do have to advocate for yourself, but you have to put that fear aside and you have to believe that you can do this, right? I can tell you one of the two things I know for sure at Google. And two things only. Number one is every single day of the 7+ years that I've been here, I have learned something new. And it's typically from one of my colleagues, because we work with some of the most smartest, caring, and thoughtful people around the world. And number two, every single day, I'm going to screw something up. There are failures everywhere. And I celebrate every failure, because you know what? They have shaped my path, and all I got to do is clean it up, pick it up. And if I can't do it by myself, my Googler friends will help me. We're all in this together.
I love that you talk about failure, because I think that even for me, honestly, I'm a moderator of this panel, but I'm taking all the nuggets of knowledge right now too, because I'm on that path where I'm similar to Mariana. I'm also too like recent gradish kind of, and also to just early in my career. So I'm constantly looking for just hearing from people who have already been developed in their career paths, right? But I think failure is a big component to that, right? Not fearing the failure, right? Like leaning into that and understanding that like you're gonna make mistakes, like you're human, it's part of life, right? It's part of your career. But I really want to hear a little bit more from you, Mayana, because I think like for a lot of women here in our network who are breaking into tech, I think what you probably might experience too, just career development wise, like might benefit a lot of women too.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree with everything that has been said. And I am also here learning from all of you. And it's amazing to be part of this group. And from my experience at Google, I've been here for 4 years and I've learned a lot technically. But I think that career-wise, some of the things that I value the most that I've learned are unlearning a lot of patterns that I grew up with, as Camille said, and putting other thoughts in my head when it comes to how to advocate for myself and how to speak about my achievements, and also when and how to put myself out there. I think that the fear of failure and the fear of rejection have always been there. And for example, I went to school for a computer science degree, and it was really intimidating to be oftentimes the only woman in the class, and most of the times the only Latino person in the class. So I was not one to like raise my hand and answer the questions or ask them. And I think that in the past 4 years, I've like unwired all of that. And like now in meetings, I try to be the one that's asking questions. I try to be the one that's answering them and bringing forward other people with me that may be too shy to speak. And all of that, I've had resources at Google that have been able to support me to learn that. I think that Camille mentioned a few of the programs that I've been as well, for advocating for myself, for my personal branding. And that learning is invaluable, in my opinion, in this current industry. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, of course, there's other technical certificates and technical skills that I've achieved in the past 4 years, and they're available. But yeah, I think the soft skills have been amazing for me.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I think that you are absolutely right. It's invaluable to be able to hone into your soft skills. And it sounds like at Google, they have it down packed as far as encourage you guys to like really hone in on those, which is really, really inspiring. And, you know, anybody in the chat right now, there's a lot of questions coming in through and a lot of love, by the way, from a lot of the women in the chat. I really love this energy. And I think a lot of women in the chat are just like myself, are like taking notes, right? Just taking these notes as far as like what needs to be happening in our career paths. And I just wanted to also just acknowledge too that in a couple moments we'll be getting to open up the sessions. And I know that we have so many questions in the chat for our women here, but I want to just completely let you guys know that you have opportunities to individually go into talking to these women too. So if you have questions for Mariana, Mari Carmen, go into the breakout sessions now, well, in like a minute or two, it's going to open. And you can go ahead and ask questions to them directly regarding kind of like their career paths, their journeys, what they're doing now. Because again, I see a lot of questions coming in. I know we haven't answered any of them yet, but we do have time for that. And we also have recruiters who will be there as well. So utilize the next 20 minutes left of our event to like ask questions. And if you do not get a chance to speak to them directly, I also encourage you guys to follow up via email. Feel free to email me, and I can also direct the questions to them as well. But without further ado, it looks like sessions are now open. So ladies, thank you so much for your time. I think you guys did an amazing job. And also just virtual hug, because it's my first time back, and I know for you guys, it's summer break. So lots of love, and I will see you guys in the sessions. Thank you.